So intangible assets, remember, these are these things that hold no physical substance, okay? Generally, these are representative of something that's an exclusive right for you, something that only benefits the owners, right? So this would be like, one of the biggest examples I can think of an intangible asset, and I'm not even really necessarily a fan of this band. They're fun and they're a hugely historic band, but the Beatles, right? Michael Jackson actually ended up buying all of their music and owned all of their music, right? It was an exclusive right that he owned to make money off of it. Really interesting case that you can read about. Basically, he made a joke to Paul McCartney one day that, oh, I ought to buy your music, and then he did at an auction. But it was intangible. He didn't actually hold on to that music, but it was something that gave him a legal right to represent and sell that music. Okay, so when an intangible asset is purchased, like we just talked about, we record it at the original cost plus all the costs necessary to get it ready for use. Okay, when you're talking about intangible assets, that's typically going to be like legal fees, right? That's the big one for intangibles. However, we have another kind of intangible asset, and those are the ones that are developed internally, right? So this is R&D right here, okay? So when you develop them internally, we expense the cost. We do not capitalize the cost. We expense it. And why is that? Well, it's because we don't want to report R&D as an intangible asset because we don't know whether or not that's actually going to provide us a benefit in the future. We could be doing some development on something that is just absolute garbage and we never make any money off of it, right? And it's not even just about not making money off of it. It's the fact that it will just never provide you a benefit. It is, as it says here, inherently difficult to determine its benefit in future periods. So, for my peace of mind and yours, just write this down. R&D, always expensed. Okay? Now, I've got my opinions on things like R&D for drug costs. You know, this is part of the reason why drugs cost us so much in the United States is because we in the United States do not allow R&D, those research and development costs, to be capitalized or recognized over time. They have to be expensed immediately. And so the high cost of researching these drugs gets passed on to the customers. So remember that R&D always, always, always expensed. Okay. Intangible assets, again, we've got things like patents. Okay. Patents, they basically give you an exclusive right to manufacture a product or to use a process. Okay. They're granted in 20-year increments. So if you see a problem with a patent in it and they do not give you a useful life for it, just assume that the useful life is 20 years. Okay, we account for them in the following way. When we purchase them, the purchase price plus legal and filing fees are capitalized. Okay, what capitalized means is initially we show it as an asset and we slowly reduce the value of that asset. That's what we call amortization. This is amortized. They are capitalized and amortized over time. Amortized, very similar to depreciation. Okay, behaves in a very similar way. Okay, when you develop these internally, well, what is that? That's R&D, right? What do we do with R&D? We expense it. Okay, so let's take a look at the just a computation here for capitalization of the cost of patents. Okay, so let's say that a company buys 2 patents during the year. For the first patent, they purchase it from another company for $200,000. That's right here. Okay, purchase it, cash expenditure $200, legal fees $40,000, filing fees $5,000. The patent is listed as an intangible asset for $245,000. Okay, this is if we purchased it. Okay, now let's say patent number 2 we develop internally. What is this? This is R&D, right? This is R&D. So our legal fees, our cash expenditures don't count. Legal fees, yes. Filing fees, absolutely. But our intangible asset is only the sum of those two. Okay? The actual R&D, the cash expenditure, is expensed. Okay? Because we don't know how it will benefit us in future periods yet. Okay? So if you have any questions over that, don't hesitate to contact me. Just know that R&D always expensed. Okay. We also have copyrights. Copyrights are an exclusive right or protection given to the creator of a published work. Typically, this is the life of the creator. Don't forget this part of it right here. It's also important. It's the life of the creator plus 70 years. This would be like any Disney merchandise, right? That's why Disney's so crazy about suing people for copyright infringement, because they've still got all the copyrights to this, and they renew it every so often. They go in and they renew it, right? I don't know exactly when Walt Disney died, but I would imagine it's coming up on time to probably start renewing the copyrights here before too long of anything that he actually copyrighted. What it does is it allows them to pursue any legal action against anyone if they attempt to copyright or infringe that copyright, right? That's why Disney, again, is just so crazy about it. Disney's such a good example for a lot of these. The way we actually account for them, it's identical to the way we accounted for patents. The exact same way we're going to do, the exact same thing we did for patents is what we'll do for copyrights. Okay. Trademarks, these are words, slogans, symbols. So the Coke symbol, everybody knows what the Coca-Cola symbol looks like. Everybody knows what the Pepsi symbol looks like. Everybody knows a good trademark example, again, is Disney. The D in Disney, that is Walt Disney's signature, and it is trademarked. Okay, it gives them a legal right to that. They can renew it every 10 years for an indefinite number of periods. Okay, so every 10 years they go in and they renew that trademark. You capitalize the legal and registration fees, and you expense any advertising costs as incurred. Okay, so advertising is an expense for this. Okay. The last one we got to talk about, at least in this video, is goodwill. This is the one I told you we won't focus on too much for this class. This is more of an intermediate type topic. This is an accounting 301 topic. Just know what it is, and it exists as an asset on your balance sheet. Okay, so basically what goodwill is, very, very simple explanation for goodwill is when a company buys another company, the portion of the price that they paid that exceeds any of the fair value of the assets that they purchased, that is goodwill. And instead of amortizing it, we impair it. Okay, goodwill is never amortized, it is always impaired. Never amortized. Okay, always impaired. All right. So that's it for this video. In the next one, we'll be getting pretty close to finished up. These chapters, they go a little bit faster. So this is why we're covering 2 chapters this week. But if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.